Okay, good afternoon, everybody. How's your show been? Good show? Yeah, lots of nods. That's good. So this is the IMRG stand. Over the past 2 days, we have done 12 presentations on this stand. This is the last one. We're nearly there. So let's make it a good one. This is all about market growth. In case this is the first time that you've come to IMRG stand over the last 2 days, where have you been? Just in case you haven't been here, I'll explain how it all works. So we have a panel of retailers. Here is a bunch of their logos. In total, there's about 220 of them. Every single week, these retailers and many more send us a file that says, here's what we've earned on our website. Here's how much money we took. Here's how many orders we had. Here's the traffic volumes. What we then do is basically add it up to say collectively how did that group perform. And we say, as a whole, the market was up or the market was down by X%, and we show what their basket value looked like and what their conversion rate looked like. If you were to total up all of the revenue that these guys make in 1 year, it's about £26 billion in online spend in the UK. And it's all online, remember? So what you are about to see is the trends, the performance of all these retailers. And the idea is, it'll give you a very good idea as to how everyone else in the market is doing. Is it tough trading out there? Is it really great? If you've had a rubbish July and a bad August, did everyone else have a rubbish July and a bad August? So let's take a look at the market growth. But first, we're going to go back into the history books a little bit. This is a chart showing you the overall growth for each year in online retail since 2010. Cast your mind back to 2010, when life was wonderful and everything was fine, and I was only 8 years old. This is the collective growth of all those retailers in our panel. And I'd like to play a game called Spot the Pandemic. If you remember, the high street was shut in 2020. The only way you could buy something was by going online, and so the market was up 37%, quite impressive. The following year, 2021, it still managed to go into positive growth, kind of the hangover effect of the pandemic. It was still around, but ever since, it's been very tough trading. 2022 was down quite considerably. 2023 was down about 3% as well. So how has it been in recent memory? This is the year so far in 2024, the combined result of all of those retailers. And it's not good. It's not good, I'm afraid. So just to remind you what this is 26 billion quid's worth of revenue being poured into a chart. Is it up or down in comparison to 2023? Now, taking that same time frame, and instead of breaking it out by a month, if we break it out by a week, it's a little bit easier to see what the trend is doing. We've added like a linear trend line here in purple, and it's heading in the right way. Slowly but surely, week by week, up and down, it is getting back towards positive growth. It was to the point where for like, was it 36 months in a row, we hadn't had positive growth. There was the odd week that did all right, but it was getting really dry. And then all of a sudden, the first week of September goes and pulls out a blinder, up 11% the first week, year on year of September. We've asked loads of retailers what's going on, and they all just go, yeah, year on year it was very good. But if you actually dig into the numbers, it wasn't the fact that loads of people spent more online in the first week of September. It was because the year earlier, the same week 52 weeks ago, was rubbish. So its year-on-year comparison was very good. And this just in, last week, second week of September, plus 10%. So it turns out the first 2 weeks of September last year were a bit crap. But fingers crossed, we are getting towards some kind of positive growth. Now the thing to point out, this chart is across all product categories. So it's every retailer in our panel combined. We can break it out across about 35 different product categories, but we have 6 big ones, essentially. We have clothing, electronics, home and garden, gifting, health and beauty, and sports and outdoors. Underneath each of these, we have subcategories, like within electronics, we have audio, and we have visual, and that sort of thing. This is the year-to-date growth. If you were to add up all the money that's been spent online in each of these categories across January to August this year, and compare it to the same period 1 year earlier, this is how those categories are doing. You don't want to be selling clothing right now. It's really tough. We've got some massive, massive retailers in our clothing panel, and it is really rare to be getting their sales figures every week and see any kind of positive growth. It's very tough. Whereas, if you are a health and beauty retailer, you're coming out smelling of roses right now. Those guys, for some reason, are doing really well. When times are tough, cost of living is about, no one's got much money, they spend their time on making themselves look nice and smell nice, it would appear. Breaking that down into some more granular categories, here are some of them that we've listed. This is their year-to-date growth, and they're in a particular order. So at the top are those that are the very best. So you'll see fragrance is the top performer by a massive margin, and poor old menswear at the bottom, really bad. The interesting thing about menswear is we have a lot of retailers in our panel who sell both menswear and womenswear. And when you look at which category is getting year-on-year growth, for some reason, a retailer will say, yeah, our womenswear is doing X, but the menswear is doing much worse. Same company, just for some reason that category of clothing in the menswear just isn't going as well as the womenswear. Now, speaking of the big boys that we have in our panel, you would have seen a load of logos at the beginning on a chart. We went and picked out the largest 10 based on their revenue. How much do they take online each year? This is those biggest 10, and you will all know who they are. You will have all shopped at these companies, very well-known brands. This is their year-to-date growth currently. 7 of the largest 10 are currently, at this point in the year, in negative territory. One of them is down 13%. A couple of these companies earn billions of pounds online each year, just themselves. And that is the state of what the market's doing. So it's very, very tough right now, but things hopefully are starting to look a little better as we head into Q4. So let's take a look at some of the highlights of product categories that we've noticed this year. Health and beauty, as you will have seen, is one of the best performing categories that we have. Something quite interesting happened this year in the health and beauty space. So we'll break it out across the first 6 months of this year. And what you're looking at is the year-on-year growth. It's broken out by week along the bottom. So it's basically saying, in this week here, was there more money or less money earned than that equivalent week 1 year earlier? Across the 4 biggest categories that sit under the world of beauty, fragrance, hair care, skin care, and makeup, this is what it's done. The blue line at the top is fragrance. It is the best performing category out of anything that we track. The interesting thing on this slide is this bit, Mother's Day, when you might be interested to buy a gift for your mum in the world of beauty. So during the week of Mother's Day, it tanked and went straight through the floor. But everything is all right, don't worry. Their mums are still being bought stuff. For Mother's Day, you clearly shop in the week before. So this highlighted bit there is the week when everyone actually shopped for their Mother's Day, for beauty, and it did very well. The problem is that Mother's Day moves around in the calendar. So the year before, just added on this graph now, is 2023's Mother's Day. And as you just learnt, the week before is when everyone shops. So what happened here was it was being compared against that week from 1 year earlier where everyone went out and bought a load of stuff for their mum on Mother's Day. So as a retailer, you might have gone, oh my God, the market's down, our sales are bad, but very simple explanation as to what happened. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at, something interesting that happened, is home and garden. Easter is outside of Black Friday. Easter is the biggest period during the year for home and garden retailers. Everybody wants to go and do up their house during that spring break. This is the performance of some of the categories during the first week and second week of Easter. My word, did you not want to be selling garden furnishings during Easter? Turns out the weather during a particular period of that Easter kind of 2-week period was shocking, and nobody wanted to go out and buy themselves some rattan furniture, barbecues, all the nice things that you might put in your garden. Homewares and decorations, though, on the flip side, all the stuff inside did very well. So it's really determinate on how the weather, good old British weather, has been playing out. So, I've just explained to you that the market is pretty tough right now. It's very bad. So, to try and diagnose what's going on, try and find the culprit as to why things aren't working out, we're going to look at a few hotspots to try and find the murderer, if you will. Who's killing e-commerce right now? The first thing is conversion rates. From all the data that we get from retailers, we are able to work out what their conversion rate is. This is the average conversion rate of about 220 retailers across a 2.5-year period. It's about 3.1% typically. Those big peaks that you can see, that is Black Friday and Christmas, November and December, understandably biggest shopping period of the whole year. But our conversion rate's up currently compared to what it was 1 year earlier. If you averaged the first 8 months of this year, it is basically the same. There is 0.04 of a percentage point difference. So it's not conversion rate. Conversion rate is pretty much the same across the board. It's doing all right. For reference, if you would like to see what that looks like broken out by product category, here is the data. These are the industry average conversion rates for people that sell gifting or people that sell electronics or whatever it might be. Is that changing? Is it gone up or has it gone down? Let's take a little look. Let's show those categories again. Clothing, home and garden, gifting. In 2023, here's where those average conversion rates. In 2024, here are those conversion rates. You can see the change that's been put in there. Essentially, what you're looking at, gifting, as you saw, is having a very tough time right now. It's down 11% so far this year. Its conversion rate has also dropped by 0.3%. So from an average of 4.2 to 3.9, that's quite a big chunk, by the way. The one that's smelling of roses, once again, is beauty, and home and garden's done quite well. Now, these are averages. What is quite useful to sometimes see is it broken out at the most granular level of detail. This is 220 retailers' conversion rates, 215 even. Each dot is a retailer, and this is their average conversion rate for this point in the year. So some are getting their conversion rate at like 0.2, 0.3%. And yes, there are some retailers that get a double-digit conversion rate. How on earth are they doing that? It's nothing fantastic that they've done with their website. It's not some incredible UX or the world's best checkout. It's what they sell, basically. A good example, think of a florist's. The decision is already done when you come onto a florist website. I've got to buy those flowers for this person. It's just which bouquet I end up buying. That sort of website has a really good website, a really good conversion rate. Or think of someone that sells like emergency DIY stuff. Oh crikey, something's fallen down in my house. The house is flooding, whatever it might be. I need this part right now. I've got to go buy it, they also have fantastic conversion rates. But I've said to you the conversion rate average is about 3.1. What is actually more helpful, and a number that you should really benchmark yourself against, are the percentiles. So the 25th percentile is literally a quarter of the way along from lowest up to highest. The median, the 50th percentile, that is the number that you should be comparing your conversion rate against as a general benchmark. Because it's literally, if you line up everyone, it's the one in the middle. But there's an extra dynamic that we haven't considered in this. I kind of touched on it a second ago. It's what they sell. How expensive is the stuff that you are selling? If you happen to be a retailer that sells pricey stuff, chances are your conversion rate is quite low. This chart adds in what the average basket value is. So on the left-hand side is their conversion rate, but running from left to right is what that retailer's average order value looks like, and there's a really nice curve. As stuff is super cheap, you have some very high conversion rates, some of these gifting guys that you might see up here, and then as it gets very expensive, the conversion rate is really low. If anyone here has ever worked for a travel retailer, holidays, typically their basket value is 4 figures, a couple of £1,000 for a holiday. Their conversion rate is one of the worst in the entire industry, just by default of it being very expensive. Now, what can you do to improve? What are people focusing on? At IMRG, we have access to loads of retailers. It's quite nice. Every now and then we send them a survey to find out what they're thinking. One of the questions that we asked them earlier this year is, what sort of things are you doing to improve your conversion rate? And we gave them a list. Are you looking to improve your conversion rate by adding a new payment method? Are you going to improve your site search? Are you going to update the UX? Enhance your loyalty scheme? Are you going to re-platform? Improve your customer targeting? Lower delivery cost? Taxonomy changes in your navigation? Any kind of personalization or something else? In theory, one of these 10 options, or all of these 10 options, should be helping you improve your conversion rate by a little bit. But which is the most important? Which one are you ranking at the top? Take a guess. Which of those 10, and it's not other, by the way, which of those 10 do you reckon got ranked the highest out of, it was, how many did we have? 146 retailers responded to this one. It is the UX seems to be at the top. It's all about those little nitty-gritty, changing the button color, moving it over here, making it a single page, not a multiple page checkout, all those nice things. That is where people are prioritizing. So, conversion rates, back to our whodunit. Who killed e-commerce? Wasn't conversion rates in the billiard room? No, no. Was it the basket value in the library? Who knows? I'm going with this Cluedo analogy. I'm going to keep going with it. Basket values. This is what the industry average basket value has looked like over the last kind of 2.5 years. It goes up and down from time to time. If you want to compare that against the period before, it's moved up by £5. Not a massive amount. It's helped, but it's not a huge amount. The average basket value across a bunch of product categories, we can break it out just like the conversion rates, looks like this. By and large, they remain relatively flat if you are a lower priced product category. So at the bottom, in pink, is health and beauty, very flat average basket value. In orange is sports and outdoors, very low. But the two top ones, green is home and garden, and grey is electricals, they are two of the most expensive product categories going. When it's a little bit more expensive, the volatility is a little bit up and down. But overall, basket values have remained relatively strong, if not a little uptick. So e-commerce isn't struggling because of basket values. The killer, ladies and gentlemen, is traffic. The problem is traffic. This is the year-on-year growth for traffic volumes to online retail over the last 8 months, it's down. The problem is not the fact that you're getting people converting at a worse rate and they're not spending as much, because they are. The fact is there are just less people online coming to your website that you can actually convert to buy in the first place. And I have an extra slide here to really kind of sum up where this is going and why it's going wrong. It's the most complicated slide we have today. It's not that bad. But what it is we've got revenue and traffic on the left-hand side, up or down year on year. So far for 2024, is revenue up, is traffic down, whatever it might be. On the right-hand side is another axis which shows you what the conversion rate change has done. So for example, total market. In the red, traffic is down, as you just saw. The conversion rate has done all right, a little bit better perhaps, ever so slightly good. But the problem is, because traffic is down, conversion rates remain relatively stable. You didn't quite manage to get more growth in the blue, that's the revenue, that is down. Clothing, traffic, it turns out, in clothing has been ever so slightly up. But the purple dot, the conversion rate in the clothing retailers, has been down. So they haven't managed to convert that traffic to anything meaningful, and so revenue in blue is down. Home and garden, traffic was down by a little bit, but their conversion was so good that they managed to turn a negative into a positive ever so slightly. Electronics, really bad. Traffic was down quite considerably. Conversion rate was down. Revenue was down. Gifting, good lord, really bad. Revenue, traffic super down. Conversion rate even worse. Turns out, when everyone's wallets are tightened, cost of living crisis, the first thing to go is buying other people gifts. Very tough market to be in. Sports and outdoors did all right. Traffic was up, the red bit was up, but the problem is shoppers weren't converting as well. It was kind of in the depth, so they didn't quite manage to get as positive revenue growth as you might hope. But the star, ladies and gentlemen, is health and beauty. The only category that we track that has traffic up, it has conversion rate up, and it has its revenue up. That is where you want to be focusing your time if you happen to be selling lipstick or makeup. So, we asked retailers to tell us, what are you doing about growth? What is keeping you up at night to stop you from growing your business? What are the main hot topics that you've got? And we gave them a great big list of stuff. Quite a few of them we said, is it difficulties in international trade? Is that what's stopping you from growing? Is it increased pressure on margin? Is it the rise of these second-hand marketplaces like Vinted? Is everyone suddenly going, sod paying full price for new products, I'm going to get cheap stuff second-hand? Is it all of these cheap alternatives like Temu? Is that keeping people up at night with their worries? Is it your conversion rate declining? Is it the high street? Who knows? Is it the high street that you're fearing? Everyone's going to suddenly flock back to shop in person. Increased competitors from new entrants, dominant players, big people hoovering up smaller brands, you see that a lot. Is it the cost of acquisition, spending all your money with Google, lobbing it to those boys over in Silicon Valley? Or is it the reduced disposable income, cost of living? What do you reckon out of those was the number one concern that retailers thought would stop them from growing this year? This is the ranking that they gave. Cost of living, ladies and gentlemen. It is the fact that people just have less money in their wallets, and if you want to see the proportion of people that said what they've got, by and large, a large percentage of the people within our panel said that is what's keeping them up at night. So to conclude, online commerce, very tough period at the moment. Conversion rates are doing all right. Basket values are doing all right. It's the traffic. That is where the problem is. Thank you very much for listening. Hopefully that was useful. I have one last thing to tell you for one last time. if you find this sort of thing interesting, if you like the idea of benchmarking your business, if you like the idea of comparing what your conversion rates look like, or what your add to bag rate might look like, you can become a member of IMRG and get access to all of this data. It's access through a dashboard that we have. If you become a member, we give you a login, you go onto our website, it's this lovely tool that houses all of our information. If that sounds like something you would be interested in, go and speak to our team over there on our stand. But for now, thank you very much for listening. That is 12 out of 12 done. Thank you very much for listening. I'm done. Thank you.